Hello, it's Mr. Collier, and today we're doing some binomial theorem problems. Okay, and the first question, the third term in the expansion of 1 minus x to the power of n is 45x. Find the seventh term. Okay, so we're talking the third term. We'll have x to the power of 2. That comes from negative x squared. And then we're going to have 1 to the power of n minus 2, which doesn't matter because it's just going to be a 1 anyway. And then the binomial coefficient is going to be n, choose 2. It's always the same as this one over here. Alright, so that should be equal to 45x squared, and then we just need to solve this equation for n. So this is going to be 1 right here, and let's take a look at this. According to the formula for a combination, it's going to be n factorial over n minus 2 factorial times 2 factorial. And here we're going to have x squared, and there we have 45x squared. And notice the x squareds will just cancel, so we're just solving for n. Okay, so the key here is to recognize that n factorial is n times n minus 1 times n minus 2 and so forth. And n minus 2 factorial is n minus 2 and so forth all the way down to 1. Okay, and then we've got a 2 factorial here. So the n minus 2 factorial cancels with n minus 2 factorial, and we're left with n times n minus 1 here. So n times n minus 1, we're going to get n squared minus n. And 2 factorial is just 2, so I'm going to multiply both sides by 2 and get 90 over here. Alright, so this is a quadratic, and it factorizes to n minus 10 times n plus 9 equals 0. And we have n equals 10, or n equals negative 9, which is not possible here. And we have n equals 10. So we know the number of terms, we know n equals 10, and then we can figure out the seventh term pretty easily. Be careful though, the seventh term is going to be your x to the power of 6 term. Okay, because you start off to the power of 0 and then you go all the way up to the power of 6. So that's going to be negative x to the power of 6. And well, 1 to the power of, these numbers should add up to 10. And we're going to have 10 choose 6. Okay, so we'll need to work that out. So you're going to have an x to the power of 6 here. And 10 choose 6 is 10 factorial over 4 factorial times 6 factorial. So you're going to have an numerator 10 times 9 times 8 times 7 over, and that's cancelled. And we're going to have 4 times 3 times 2 times 1. 4 and 2 make 8. This becomes a 3. 3 times 7 is 21 times 10 gives you 210. Okay, next question. We have 1 plus a to the power of, a times x to the power of n equals 1 minus 15x plus 90x squared minus, and so forth. Find the values of a and n. Alright, so we have the coefficients of the binomial expansion, so we can probably set up some equations and solve. So let's take a look at this first one here. This first one is, well, we don't know n, so it's n choose 0 times 1 to the power of, well, that's not going to be very helpful at all. 1 to the power of n ax to the power of 0 equals 1, and this is not going to help at all. Next we're going to have n choose 1 for the second term times 1 to the power of n minus 1 times ax to the power of 1 equals negative 15x. So now we can start making some equations. Simplify this. This is just 1, and n choose 1 is just n. So we have n times ax equals negative 15x, which means that n times a equals negative 15. So we have some information now. Maybe we can make another equation and start solving. So let's look at this term right here. Okay, we're going to have n choose 2. Don't need the 1 term, because that's just going to be 1. A x to the power of 2 equals 90x squared. Okay, so we're going to get n factorial over n minus 2 factorial times 2 factorial. And here we're going to get a squared x squared equals 90x squared. The x squareds will cancel. We saw before that if you simplify this, we get n times n minus 1 over 2 a squared equals 90. Okay, we can multiply both sides by 2, I guess, yep. N times n minus 1 times a squared equals 180. And here we have, we could solve and get a equals negative 15 over n, so I can substitute that in over here. N times n minus 1 times negative 15 over n all squared equals 180. And we'll get n times n minus 1 times 225 over n squared equals 180. And that n will cancel one of those n's. And let's multiply both sides by n to get rid of that one. And we'll have 225 n minus 225 equals 180 n. Okay, we can subtract, we can rearrange here and get 45 n equals 225, and divide by 45, and we'll get 5, so n equals 5. So we're halfway there. We know n equals 5. We have to find that a value now. Oh, well, we have this little equation right there. A equals negative 15 over n, so negative 15 over 5. So a equals negative 3.